You ever look at a floor plan and just feel completely lost? Like you're trying to decipher some kind of ancient secret map with all its lines and shapes and weird codes? Well, today, we're going to crack that code together. Let's dive in and learn the language of floor plans.
Yeah, to the untrained eye, a floor plan can be seriously confusing. It's a bird's eye view of a space, sure, but without knowing what the symbols mean, it's really just a jumble of lines. But trust me, it's way easier to learn than you might think.
The key to understanding all of this is actually pretty simple. Think of floor plan symbols as the alphabet of interior design. That's it. Each little symbol represents a real-world object. A wall, a door, a window, you name it. Once you learn this alphabet, you can read any floor plan and really understand the story of a space.
Now here's a quick pro tip before we get started. While most of these symbols are pretty standard, sometimes designers or architects have their own little variations. So the very first thing you should always look for on a plan is the legend or the key. Think of it as the official decoder ring for that specific drawing.
So, to make learning this new language even easier, we're going to break it all down into 3 main categories. Simple.
Okay, so what are they? First, you've got your architectural symbols. These are the bones of the building. Then you have plumbing symbols for things like sinks and toilets. And finally, lighting and electrical. It's worth pointing out that lighting and electrical stuff often gets its own separate, dedicated plan, but we'll touch on that a little later.
All right, first up, the architectural symbols. These are the absolute fundamentals. They define the structure itself, the walls, the openings, and how you actually move through a space. Check this out. This is the most common symbol you'll see, a standard door. You have a straight line for the door itself, and then this curved arc. Now that arc is super important. It shows you exactly which way the door swings open and how much clearance space you'll need around it. That is vital when you're planning where to put furniture.
Next up, if you see this V shape or this kind of zigzag line, that represents a bifold door. Because it folds in on itself, you'll usually see this symbol for closets or pantries, places where a big swinging door would just take up way too much room.
So, how do they show windows? Well, it's basically a break in a solid wall. The thicker outer lines are the wall, and those thinner lines in the middle, that's your glass pane in the frame. This one little symbol instantly tells you where all the natural light is going to come from.
This one? You can't miss it. A series of parallel rectangles is always going to be a staircase. And you'll almost always see an arrow with the word up or down for down. That's your guide, showing you which way you're headed from that particular floor.
And here we have the symbol for a fireplace. It's usually a solid box attached to a wall, sometimes with a little shape inside for the hearth. This isn't just a symbol, it's an anchor that often defines the main gathering spot in a room.
Okay, so we've got the basic structure down. Now let's outfit the place. Let's talk about the symbols for all the functional stuff, like the plumbing and appliances you find in kitchens and bathrooms.
Here we go, the kitchen sink. You can see it's a rectangle sitting inside a countertop line. This one has 2 smaller rectangles inside, which means it's a double basin sink. And that little circle or dot, that's your faucet.
This one might be the easiest symbol of them all to spot. It's literally a top-down view of a toilet. You can clearly see the oval for the bowl and the rectangle behind it for the tank. No way you can miss that. And for a shower, you're going to look for a square or a rectangle with a big X going through it, corner to corner. Now that X isn't just for decoration. It actually represents the slope of the floor heading towards the central drain. Kinda cool, right?
Moving into the kitchen appliances, this simple square or rectangle, usually labeled with REF, well, that's your refrigerator. It's all about showing the placement and the footprint, helping a designer plan out the workflow of the whole kitchen. And right next to it, you'll often find the oven or the range. It's another square, but here's the dead giveaway. It usually has 4 little circles on top to represent the burners. That's how you can tell it apart from the other appliance symbols.
And finally, over in the laundry room or utility closet, you'll see these guys, the washer and dryer. They're just simple squares, clearly labeled with a W for washer and a D for dryer. Super straightforward.
All right, we've learned the alphabet. You ready to start reading a few words? We're going to look at a real floor plan now and put this all together. This is where it all starts to click. Let's do it.
Okay, take a good look at this plan. First up, let's find those architectural symbols. Can you spot the main door into the living room? There it is, with its swing arc. Now, how about the windows? Yep, you can see them along the top and right walls. And finally, can you find the stairs?
Right there, marked up. See? You got this.
Awesome job. Okay, let's switch gears. In that same area, can you find the plumbing symbols? Where's the kitchen sink? You got it, right there in the dining area, that double basin symbol. And look over on the left, you can see those 2 squares for the washer and dryer hookups. Perfect.
And now, it's time for a bonus round. Remember how we said electrical symbols often have their own plan? Here's what that looks like. You can see all these little symbols for outlets on the walls, switches right next to the doors, and those circles in the ceiling are the light fixtures. It's a whole other layer of information.
And just like that, you did it. You've learned the alphabet. By understanding these simple symbols, you've totally unlocked the ability to read the language of space. You can visualize a building before it even exists and understand the flow of a home just from a piece of paper. It's not a secret code anymore, is it?
And that leaves us with one final thought. Now that you can speak the language, take a look at the layout of your own home, or maybe the next one you visit. Think about the symbols you'd use to draw it. What story does the floor plan of your home tell?